Hi, welcome to How to Repair. In this video I'm going to be showing you some common faults with the Dyson cylinder series. We're working on a DC08. Now most of these vacuum cleaners do have different type of faults, but I'm going to show you the basic faults with the machine, how to rectify them, how to change the parts. Now on this machine, the customer was complaining it was smelling of burning type of smell of electrical. He also could hear that the motor was intermittently rising and cutting out. And what I'm going to do is change the motor on this machine, but while I'm doing the video I will show you the other faults that can happen, which are common faults on this machine. Now, one of the most common faults that can occur on all cylinder type vacuum cleaners, and this can also happen on stand-up standalone vacuum cleaners that have retractable cords, or you may just have a wind-up cord. When you actually plug them into the socket, the cable gets stretched constantly, and this can cause, over a period of a few years, metal fatigue within the cable. Now this metal fatigue will basically end up breaking the copper strands within the cable. Now when the copper strands break, you end up with an intermittent fault, which means that the power cable itself sometimes is passing electricity and sometimes not passing electricity. This can happen at the plug end. Now if it happens at the plug end, you can save yourself quite a bit of money by just chopping back the cable to the necessary length and replacing the plug at that point. But if it happens at the very end of the cable, which basically is quite long on this Dyson, what happens is people extend the vacuum cleaner to the far reaches of the room, and then this metal fatigue can take place inside or on the coil itself. When this happens, you can shorten the cable, but really speaking, because of all the metal fatigue, as you can see this cable's quite curly because it's been coiled up so long, but basically it's a good idea to replace the whole cable. You can get these at the website very easily, and they're not that expensive. Now on this machine, the fault is, as the customer said, they're smelling burning smell on the motor, and the machine is also erratically going up and down as if it was trying to suck, but it's not sucking. And luckily I'm able to show you this so you'll understand it in future. I'm not going to run it for too long because it's actually doing damage to the motor, and if we can replace the carbon brushes, we'll take a look at them and have a look at the armature. But I have a motor here which I'm going to replace for the customer anyway. So here we have the vacuum cleaner. I've already got it plugged in, and I'm going to turn it on now so you can hear the fault. You will hear this sparking type noise. If I leave it to run too long, you would actually smell burning, but you can hear it sparking. Now, as you could hear, the motor was going up and down, and it was sparking a lot on the armature. These are the carbon brushes not making good contact across the armature, the commutator part of the armature, and this is causing it to spark, which is the noise you could hear. I suspect that the customer has done quite a bit of damage to the armature itself. It is possible, if it's only slight damage, to clean it up and just repair the carbon brushes, but really for the cost of the motors are normally £30–40 in vacuum cleaners. You'll be able to find this at the website by putting the model number and the serial number in the contact us form. On some of the motors we actually have all the models listed, but you will really have to have a look at the website. I'll do a screencast of what you need to do to contact us to make sure that we can check that you're getting the right part for your machine. So, as you can see, we've established the fault with the machine. We've got a good idea that it's a problem with the motor. Now we need to strip the appliance down. So the first thing we need to do is remove the actual filter housing and the collection bowl. So it's just a clip at the top. This comes away. The next thing we need to do is remove the hose. So this one clip at the bottom, just press down, lift up, and then the hose will slide out. And we've got that out of the way. Now we have to understand how the machine comes apart. On different models of vacuum cleaner, they do come apart differently. So don't use this. This is on a DC08. It is slightly different to all the other models of Dyson, but just carefully understand how the machine comes apart. So the first thing we're going to do is remove this base filter. Okay? So we can just press that. This comes out. Then we have the filter, and as you can see, this is very, very dirty. A lot of carbon dust in here from the motor as well. So these filters are going to need replacing. Right, now we've got that removed. The next thing we need to remove is the top filter. On this model, you can see here, there's a clip. Just lift this, and this opens up, and we're able to replace the filter and remove the filter, sorry. We'll replace both of these filters after. Now that we've got this off, we actually have to remove this hinge part. We need to use a flat blade screwdriver on this. Put the screwdriver down in the side and carefully prise it off. You can see the two lugs here, one on either side. One goes in and you just carefully ease it off. Okay? Now we need to take the two wheels off. Reasonable size flat blade screwdriver. Go into the side and they will pop off. As you can see, they have clips all the way around, so they just push on. This will reveal the two screws on either side. So we'll do this side as well. Just carefully. Remember, plastic can get brittle with years. And there's the other wheel. Next, we need to undo these 4 screws on either side. I'm using a Torque 15. Okay, you can buy a full set of Torques at the website, or you can get them at your local hardware store. Again, on different models of machines, the screw sizes may change. On some makes of vacuum cleaner, they use Phillips. On others, they use Torques. And there are Torques on the market today which are even a little bit more complicated. The manufacturers do try to make things as complicated, in my opinion, as possible. You have Torques which have holes in them. I'll just show you them there. And they're security Torques. And that's the one we're looking for. You can just see a hole, and right down the bottom is the Torque. You'll need to undo it all the way. Sometimes it doesn't come out, and you can catch it there. There's another screw hidden in here. Now we've removed the 2 screws, the housing is ready to come off. I would pull about 1 meter of cable out, okay, before you remove the cover. This will allow you to slide this completely off. Now let me explain. This is the retractable cord, which is activated by the button on the top, which will wind the cord down. There's a spring inside here which controls the mechanism. Here is the on-off switch. Now the on-off switch can be a fault with the machine. Sometimes over a period of time the contacts within the switch fail. You can actually test this with a multimeter. You can remove the wires off the switch, and here's the switch itself. If you listen carefully, you can hear it clicking. That's a good sign anyway. but the way to test it properly is turn your meter to continuity. Okay, turn your meter to continuity, one on each terminal. There we have continuity. We'll turn it off, no continuity, on continuity. That means the switch is good. Now we're ready to actually remove the motor and its cover. Okay, the motor slides out. You need to remember to clip the cables in when replacing it. And now we can disconnect the neutral side. Now we have the motor, and we can strip down the motor and have a look at it. Right, on Dyson vacuum cleaners, a lot of the models are serial number dependent. This is very important. Somewhere on the machine you will find an identification plate, and you can see here that this is a Dyson DC08. Then we have 183 EU A42441. This is the model and serial number all together. And you'll be able to fill out the contact, put your model number, serial number, the part that you require, and let us do the work for you.
Before I reassemble this machine, a quick guide on how to use the website to find the part or your tutorial. Either enter a short description into the search box or use the layered navigation. There are tabs in the middle of the screen which will take you to parts or tutorials when you refine your search. Using the layered navigation, enter your make, model and the type of part you're looking for. When you have found the parts, check that the part is correct. Check in the manufacturer's brand that your model is listed correctly. Then add it to cart and go to the checkout page. Please fill all the information in correctly, as our staff are always here to help you. If you need help, use our contact us page. Whether you're looking for a part or needing help on your appliance, please fill in the form correctly using your make and model number, serial number when you have it, and put a detailed description of either the part that you are looking for or a detailed description of the fault that you have.
Right, now we need to separate the covers and the housing to get at the motor. You will see a small amount of clips around here. Some of them are already loosish, but we'll just prise this cover off. And the rubber housing that holds the motor in place all comes off. Always a good idea to mark things up if you're in doubt, or take photographs. Now the motor will actually come out, and we're going to be able to disconnect the motor itself. Again, take photographs if in doubt with the wiring. So we have black to blue and brown to red. Here's the motor. Now, as I said, I can see quite a few score marks, which I'll try and zoom in for you here in a second, which are already on the motor, and this is where the lugs on the motor are actually cutting into the brushes and causing it to spark. Now, you can actually replace the hole holders, and they do original brush sets and they do pattern ones which have to be soldered in, and I can see some solder work actually on these, so in my opinion someone's already tried changing the brushes. But let me just extract one so I can see. Phillips screwdriver. These are good brushes, but look closely. You can see the score marks that the armature is making in the brush. This brush has actually been replaced and the brush itself is good, but the armature now is cutting into the brushes, causing this burning smell. The armature, I'm going to move the lighting in a second so I can show you in detail. So here you can see the scored carbon brush, and
when rotating the motor, I hope the light is getting this correctly, you can see the score marks on the armature. Now basically there are some high points on the commutator itself, and that's what's cutting into the brush. In my opinion, with this one, it is too badly damaged, and because they've replaced the carbon brushes already, it's not worth even trying to repair it. I'm just going to replace the motor, as I said earlier in the video. So here we have the new motor. The number for the part is written on the box. It's a genuine motor. Sometimes pattern motors are available, which will be a bit cheaper. Always worth keeping this stuff, by the way. It's silica gel. It's well worth chucking this into drawers, a sock drawer or a shirt drawer or whatever. It always gets rid of any damp. Very good idea. And here we have the motor. And let me just show you one thing. You can actually see here the genuine manufacturer's brush, and you can see the pattern one, and that's the solder that I was on about, that you can see there. Right, we're ready to reassemble, but just a little technique. I'm going to take the plastic fitting out of here. As you can see, it has a location lug which can only go one way into the housing. I'm actually, to make it easier for you, I'm just going to show you can place this on the motor and then get the wiring. What we want is the wiring going round that way. So let me change that to the other side it can go on. And as you can see, this just drops down flush onto this. And now we've got, that looks like the wiring is going to join up nicely. So we'll connect the, as I said earlier, the brown to the red. It will vary from machine to machine. Blue to black. We've got a good contact. Now we're going to put this round so it's nice and neat. And now we've got to line up the location lug. That is now assembled. So we can just put our hands underneath, rotate this over. We need to put the cover on. Now on this one I didn't notice when I was taking it apart, but there is a directional arrow. This normally points to the direction where the wiring comes out, but the most important thing is we have 4 catch points. They will only really line up on most models in one way. So if we get the directional arrow pointing to where the wires come out, we should have perfect alignment. As you can see here, each one of the lugs is lined up correctly. So we'll press this down now, lock it in place, make sure all the lugs are down, and that is nice, all fitted correctly. And I'm just going to make sure the motor's turning freely. That is now ready for reassembly, and this will go on to the back of the machine. But first we need to make sure that this dust lug slides down, and that pops in there. Okay, right, we've got all this ready to assemble. So I'm going to slot the motor in on this. I remember the arrow was actually going to the switch direction, and you can see the plate here actually goes on here at the bottom. So we'll just slide this in. We'll connect up the live wire to the switch. Slide the switch into place. And we'll put the brown wire, as I said, make sure you get this wiring right around the clips. This will help no end when you're actually putting the cover on. Okay, now the blue wire will join up Again, tuck this into the clips. That's all neat and tidy. So we've got everything lined up. The wheel wasn't quite correct, so I've just realigned that so it's coming straight up, and the bottom marker is there. So now hopefully the casing will go on. It's a little bit of a jiggle sometimes because you've got to get the motor lined up. This rubber seal around here. I've got to make sure all the lugs go in correctly. That's clipped in then. Okay, once you've got it all clipped in and it's all looking like the alignment on all the gap is evenly, test the buttons. This will tell you that all the pieces inside are lining up correctly. Listen for the on-off switch. We know that's working. Now we can put the screws back in. So what we do with the screws, we do not do them up tight. We only just thread them in. Reason why I do it this way is basically it will pull the whole casing in square, and if none of the screws line up either, then you've got a good indication that you haven't put the housing together correctly. And the last screw lives in the top here. Got all the screws in, just go round, make sure your joint's nice and clean, you've got nothing trapped. Now you can turn them to tight and just an eighth of a turn, not even an eighth really. They only need to be hand tight. Ready to reassemble the filters. So first thing we're going to do, as I said with these lugs before, just be careful with them. Plastic, it's brittle, that's in place. So we've got all this together. Now we'll replace the filters. So I'm replacing the top filter, goes in that way. We'll close that up. Now we're going to use a very good pattern filter for the DYSON DC08, and of course these filters can be used on DC04s, DC05s, 8s, 19s, 20s, 29s and so on. Filters are pretty much not needing serial numbers or anything else, so you can actually have HEPA filters to go in here. But we'll just pop this in, put the cover on the top, that locks in, pop the wheels on, as I said, just clips, that's all they are. Just line them up. Now we can put the hose on, as I said. Hose goes in, push it all the way to the top. That now clips in, that's all done. Now we'll drop the cylinder on and we're ready to test. Now we've got the appliance plugged in, we can do a test, make sure
that we've got good vacuum and everything. And that's now all working perfectly, and you can hear the motor. You don't end up with that sparking noise or anything else that we had before. That's the sound you should be listening for. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to shop at How to Repair, where we make hundreds of tutorials on all types of appliance repairs, from vacuum cleaners to fridge freezers, washing machines, tumble dryers, cookers, etc. And we have an FAQ section, and if you have any problem with an appliance, you're always welcome to use the contact us form. Make sure you list your model number and serial number before asking the question, and please make sure the questions are in depth, because we do get a lot of emails that people send us that just say, my vacuum cleaner is not working, my washing machine is not working, I'm not a mind reader, I do need some more detailed information. Thanks very much for watching this video.